Next up, leafy spurge can be a pervasive problem in rangelands throughout Nebraska. And of course, early detection and rapid response is key before it gets out of control and you have to spend that extra money to manage it effectively. Market Journal's Bill Dodd sat down with Extension educator Gary Stone to learn more about leafy spurge.
By the most recent tally, Nebraska currently has 22.6 million acres of rangeland, covering roughly 46% of the Cornhusker state. Rangelands are lands on which the native vegetation is predominantly perennial grasses, grass-like plants, forbs and shrubs, or dispersed trees, and the occasional invasive weed. Leafy spurge, also known as wolf's milk, has been particularly problematic for western rangeland as it spreads in a uniquely aggressive manner.
Why it's a problem in our state as well as others is that once it gets established, it's very hard to get rid of the plant. It has an extensive root system. It spreads its seeds in a unique way that's different from quite a few other plants. So this plant being a perennial forb, it will obviously come back from the same rootstock every year, but the horizontal roots can spread laterally 15 feet, and there's buds on those roots that can pop up and start a new plant from that. The unique thing about the plant is that when the seeds mature, that plant can actually throw them 10 to 15 feet from that stem. So that's how it can spread with its seeds. So it's quite a bit different than a lot of other plants.
Leafy spurge is considered a noxious weed, and by state law, that means the problem must be dealt with by the landowner. At the very least, the landowning entity is tasked with minimizing the spread of the species, or at best, completely snuffing it out. Naturally, the first step to eradicating this particular species is being able to identify it.
The plant has kind of from a distance and up close, it has kind of a lime yellow-green color to it. It's as with this year when our yellow sweet clover is blooming, they both look very similar from a distance. So you actually have to get out of the truck or the vehicle and go over and check and see just what you have. The seeds, there's 3 seeds per floweret. You can see that. The other thing to check is to break open the stem. And if it's leafy spurge, it will have a white milky sap coming out of it. And that's a characteristic that's pretty unique to that plant.
One reason leafy spurge is highly problematic for landowners is the fact that grazing livestock could potentially fall ill or be fatally compromised by this particular plant. However, some animals have shown a resiliency to the plant and have served as a means to maintaining control over the weed in some areas.
There's an irritant in the sap and that can cause problems with horses, cattle, sheep, and goats. And it can cause their death if they eat too much of it. However, people have been able to use sheep and goats as a cultural practice to graze down the top vegetation to keep the plant from going to seed, as long as they have other forbs, other grasses to eat, that they don't make leafy spurge its sole source of food for those 2 animals. There are actually a number of people have gone out and started a business with herds of goats going around in areas such as Denver that have leafy spurge where they can't spray, and they will have these herds of goats go in and at least graze down the top growth of leafy spurge.
While there are options of biological control, such as grazing sheep, goats, and root-feeding beetles to help deter the spread of the weed, there are also an array of options when it comes to chemical treatment methods and application timetables. However, it is not recommended to try and take it out by the root.
You about have to excavate anywhere from 1 foot to maybe as many as 15 or 16 feet deep. So that's not going to be a very good viable option. Okay, as I said before, if they got somebody locally that has goats and they want to try and graze it down, and they have enough animals to cover the area without getting sick, that is a very good viable option to keep them going to seed. The other thing they could do is probably use a burn down herbicide or something like a 2,4-D just right at the advent of flowering to burn the top growth down. It will not do anything for the root structure, but at least it'll prevent it or minimize the seed coming off those plants for that season. The best time to treat would probably be in the fall when the plant is putting all of its food stalks down into the roots, so the chemical will go with it and work on the roots. Spring treatments or just prior to or right at flowering to keep minimize it from going to seed would be the other option, and that would be probably midsummer. Spring treatments could be an option, but I think the fall treatments have shown to be a better way to go.
If spotted, early detection and rapid response with an integrated pest management plan will not only be crucial in stopping this noxious weed, but may also reduce the long-haul cost of long-term control endeavors. Reporting for Market Journal, I'm Bill Dodd.